I can only send it to you for some reason. If you could repost it to everyone, that would be great. And if
Nope.
anyone has any questions, I still haven't been able to talk to Denver Police. So if our new liaison officer wants to chat with me, I would love to hear what it's like to be on the ground on the other side, and whether or not the data that I have suggests that most of the time people go to these, respond to these alerts, and there's nothing there. But I'd love to hear more. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, I'm looking for the website, Ben. I'm trying to get posted. Let me see here.
That's it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think it went to everyone now. Or maybe that's wrong. It's bencolemansounds.com/shotspotter. Sorry, everyone who's in person doesn't have the links. And well, I'll go through that in a second. Thank you so much, Ben. I think I saw a lot of nods here in the room. I think there's a lot of excitement about what you found out and what you've done. So thanks so much for all your work. It's been great to have you in residency supporting the neighborhood further. Next, I think our final update that I know of off the top of my head is going to be Kathleen with Nest. If anyone else had updates, put them in the chat while Kathleen is giving us her update.
Hey everyone, my name is Kathleen Farrick. For those of you who don't know me, I am with Neighborhood Equity and Stabilization, often referred to as Nest, and we are within, for those who aren't familiar, Nest is within the Department of Economic Development and Opportunity. Our specific division is really focused on supporting specific neighborhoods. So our Nest neighborhoods, including East Colfax, those neighborhoods that are most at risk of involuntary displacement, specifically nonprofits and small businesses in those communities. So as far as updates that I have right now, we are going to have a second round of ARPA funding. So that's some of the federal COVID relief funding through what we named the Neighborhood Activation Program, which is really focused on supporting events and beautification projects. So it could be like public art, murals, etc., that really generate more foot traffic into business corridors. So for instance, obviously, like in the East Colfax business corridor would be like a great, would definitely be a neighborhood that we would want to support. And as far as when that funding is going to be released, not until in the summer. I don't have specifics yet, but I'll continue to keep folks updated. And those grants, they're for small businesses, nonprofits, or community groups. You don't have to be a 501c3 nonprofit to apply. And for amounts from $20,000 to $200,000. So that's, just wanted to put that out there, and I will be providing more information. I'll provide another update next month. Right now, we're going through the contract review process, and the application has certainly not been launched yet, but I'll give you all plenty of notice before that happens. And if anyone has any questions about the program or about Nest or the work that we do, I'm going to go ahead and drop my contact information in the chat so folks have that. But yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks so much, Kathleen. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Anyone else with updates tonight? Any other chats, Veronica? Okay. Okay. So just to kind of give everyone an agenda.
Hey, Danielle.
Yeah.
It was Christian. I had two updates.
I have time for you later.
Oh, okay. Great.
So to that point, great lead in. So I'd like to spend just a little bit of time kind of refreshing on what ECNA is, what we're doing behind the scenes. I know, especially with our technology not being great this year, right? Our website's been down, newsletter hasn't been going out. We've fixed, I think, all of it at this point. And Veronica's done a lot of additional things for us in terms of outreach and engagement. But I want to give you guys a little bit of an idea of who we're meeting with, what discussions are happening. And then also the really important part of that is what else needs to be done? What conversations do we need to have, be involved in? What else do you guys want to hear about in future meetings? All of that is going to be really important. So as I'm sharing some of this, please continue adding things in the chat or send emails to us. It doesn't matter. Letting us know what you'd like to hear about kind of throughout the summer, or what else we need to be involved in. And then we have Dani with Denver Housing, who's going to go through an ADU funding conversation, is what I'm calling it. Yeah, okay. And then Christian has a few updates with us, both on neighborhood walks as well as the NACTO conference. And then I kind of expect we'll end early so we can spend whatever time we need in discussion here. So I'll start with ECNA updates. I'm going to do my best to be as comprehensive as possible. But we can, again, deep dive into any of this as much as needed. So some things we've done within the last few months. We recently had a meeting with DOTI, so the Department of Transportation, which was great. We've been asking for a conversation to happen for a really, really long time. As many of you know, and as I bring up often, we had 2 fatalities within 6 months of each other last year, one on 13th in Syracuse and one on 14th in Syracuse. And we didn't see changes happen. I'm not saying no changes happened, but there was not much communication or engagement with the neighborhood and with what was going on. So we finally got that meeting, which was very targeted on the 13th and 14th, on both 13th and 14th one-ways. And that's mostly because some of the data presented at a recent District 5 meeting was very frightening, I think, Greg. I don't know, Greg might have additional things. I know he was on that call, so feel free to speak up too. But we were seeing that between 13th and 14th, they only took 1 day of data on December 7th as kind of a starting point, right? Out of 1 day of data, there was it's a 30-mile-per-hour, both of them are 30-mile-per-hour roads, right? About half of the people who drove on each of the roads were driving over 40 miles an hour, and over 50 people were driving the stretch over 50 miles an hour. So over 50 people within 1 day period were going 50 plus, and we don't know what the maximum was. As someone who lives between the 2 streets, I guarantee at least some of them were going 70 miles an hour, at least 60, 65. And so we've been really digging into this and trying to figure out what we can do as a community to make the streets safer. I know they're not the only streets that need to be safer in the neighborhood, right? We don't have bike safety over here. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have pedestrian safety, especially with BRT coming in. There's a lot of concerns of how all of the businesses on Colfax are going to stay afloat because none of us can walk to them purely because we don't have sidewalks. It's not safe for most of the neighborhood. So it was a really long conversation. I think it was a good starting point. But there's also just a lot of basic problems with 13th and 14th that can't change in the short term. So each lane on 13th and 14th are 6 foot wider than a freeway lane. Is that correct? Yep. So they're 18 foot wide each lane instead of 12 foot wide, which is a freeway lane. So when you think about why people feel that they can drive really fast, they're big, long, straight roads, especially between Yosemite and Colorado. So you can just pick up a ton of speed. So we've asked for them to really start digging into what's going on. Now, for everyone's information, a lot of the feedback initially was, we are all supposed to be submitting 311 requests. We've talked about 311 in these meetings before, and I do think we all need to start utilizing 311 more because the city's made it very clear that that's how they decide, based off of that data, that's how they decide which communities they're coming into. What I keep pushing back on is if you have a community who's not submitting any 311 requests, that probably doesn't mean the community doesn't need help, and it's probably the community that needs the most help. And so what DOTI has said that they would do is take the big long list of complaints, issues, concerns that we have from our neighborhood, and they're going to log them as if they were 311 requests up front. So I'm really excited about that. It's a starting point, right? But the more we engage, the more we continue inputting data, the better it's going to be. Additionally, if you're not comfortable doing 311 requests, but you still see issues, feel free to bring them to ECNA, because we're trying to create a line directly with the city so that we can be a spokesperson on behalf of the neighborhood. So feel free to engage us and keep the conversations going, because we will do our best to bring them in kind of big bunches of requests. It's not how the city prefers to operate, but I've let them know that that's how our community is going to operate, because it's not feasible to get people to start using 311 tomorrow, I don't think. Over time, sure. Okay, so those were DOTI. Anything to add? No, okay. So there's a lot of DOTI conversations going on. Additionally, we as ECNA we had a meeting not very long ago with NEST. So Kathleen set it up with a couple of the her managers within NEST. It was a really great conversation to start understanding how we can better utilize and work with NEST, which was excellent. We've been joining the safety meetings. We weren't at the most recent one, but in general, there have been safety meetings going on for the East Colfax neighborhood since Ma's murder last year. So we were doing weekly, then bi-weekly, then monthly, and now we're doing quarterly safety meetings for the neighborhood, very focused on the southeast corner of the neighborhood. And they're very valuable meetings. Those meetings are how we got the 911 policies to change last year, which was great. They just had to reprogram their towers so that our calls weren't going to Aurora PD and instead we're going to Denver PD. That triggered a national change for Verizon. So they've been some really great conversations. If you want to know any more about that, I'm happy to share, but just want to give a little summary. So those safety meetings are continuing. I know that those will start moving. They've been focused on, I'm going to say the leaders of the community, but basically people who are running the nonprofits, being kind of at the head of the table. It's going to start shifting over the summer. We want a lot more residents and community members to be engaged. So if you or anyone you know wants to be involved in that, please keep us in the loop. Let's see, we've been doing a ton recently with candidates and elections. Obviously, that has been a main priority of ours lately. Obviously, we have the runoffs coming up. We'll still be very engaged for another about 2 months. But we're also really excited to start getting engaged in a few other spaces that have kind of been sitting to the side while we're focused on elections. We have met with the clerk and recorder in the last few months to again appeal for a voting box. So fingers crossed that will happen this fall. And to be clear, this is not just only ECNA in a lot of these conversations. We work with a lot of the other nonprofits in the area as well. So I'm not trying to claim a whole bunch of credit here, right? I just want to let you guys know where we've been having conversations. Block parties, the planning for block parties has started. So if anyone wants to be engaged in the planning of those, that'd be awesome. We're shooting to have 2 again this year. And we had 2 last summer. Also, we run our block parties purely off of donations. So if you guys have ideas for donations or grants or other things that we can utilize for those, our goal for every block party is to make it completely free for our entire neighborhood. We want to make sure everyone can show up and get as much food as they want. The kids can all participate in all of the entertainment that that we have and provide, and that there's free music and entertainment kind of throughout the party. Lempira has been a hot topic lately, so I want to let you all know they have made an agreement with the city, or the agreement is being worked on with the city to reopen as a restaurant and bar, so not as a club anymore, a disco, I think they call themselves discotheque. So it'll be restaurant and bar, but they are working with a few different groups, including EC3, and we'll be in a lot of those conversations as well to make sure that how they reopen is really going to be a benefit for the community, because, yeah, let's see, many of you may have heard there was a killing there, I don't know, a few months ago, 5 months ago, 4 months ago, and it's been shut down since that time. So at this time, we as ECNA are in support of the reopening of Lempira as a bar restaurant, as long as they're working with the community and working with the neighborhood to really understand what the challenges are and to make sure that it's reopening as a safer environment for the neighborhood. So we'll be involved in those conversations. If you have strong opinions, which I'm sure many of you do, please feel free to reach out. The District 8 overlay is going on. I'm not going to go into that right now. I'll try to provide some more information in the future, but it's a zoning situation. It's basically going to rezone, focuses rezoning Colfax and the businesses there to allow more business types to move into the area is how I currently understand the situation. We've asked if we'll support it. We do not have a stance on it currently. Just wanted to kind of throw it out to everyone in case you, again, have strong opinions. We recently met with Sidewalk Poets, which is a really excellent nonprofit co-run by one of our East Colfax residents. So you'll see a whole bunch of really awesome poetry popping up around the neighborhood. It's really going to happen this summer. They've been holding workshops, especially with children. They're focused on anyone who has gone through trauma and wants to get that out through an artistic forum. I'm probably not explaining that in the best way possible. We will have them on in an upcoming meeting to really dive into what they want to do. But the exciting thing is they're going to have a walk around the neighborhood. So they're focusing on around McNichols Park, around New Freedom Park, and around Verbena. So the 3 parks in our neighborhood, as well as down Syracuse. I'm hoping to get some tributes, especially at 13th and Syracuse for the biker that was killed there last year. So they're going to do a lot of paintings and poetry, and there'll be QR codes that you can listen to people read their poetry or stories. It's very focused on storytelling as well. And you can listen to it in their native language, which is also, I think, a really cool thing. So keep an eye out for that. And then, of course, we're working with the FAFSA on the International District, and we'll have a lot more conversations around that in the future. So also, if you want to get involved in that space, please feel free to reach out. Okay, all of that was to say, there's a ton going on in the East Colfax neighborhood right now. I'm sure we're not keeping up with all of it. Our whole board all has full-time jobs outside of this. This is what we do for fun. So if there's something that you hear about or know about, please bring it to our attention. Additionally, I would like to start posting some sort of poll so that we're getting more feedback from more of the neighborhood with more regularity. So it'd be really great if everyone right now could put in the chat, if there's and in the room, I'd like to hear from you all too. Is there a specific way to get the polls that you're more likely to do them? Is it really quick social media posts? Is it having it on our website that you can go into every once in a while and fill it out? Is it including it in newsletters? What are you most likely to fill out? Because we want to make sure that we're representing the entire neighborhood in the best way we can. And we will also keep strongly considering how we can cross language barriers with those polls, as well as how we can include anyone who is not on any sort of digital platform, because we want to make sure that we're, again, including everyone. So I don't know if there's any feedback in the room, and it's okay if there's not, but.
Yeah, social media, survey monkey, email, text, newsletter, newsletter.
Okay, so all the things.
Yeah, all
we
the
will post all the polls to all the things and do our best to compile them. Okay, thanks, Monica. Okay, so certainly appreciate the feedback. Keep giving it to us. We'll do our best to, again, reach everybody, but obviously bear with us. This is a challenge. Every time we have language access in the neighborhood, we're looking at over 10 languages that we really need to support. And so again, we will do everything we can to reach as many people as possible. Okay, I guess one other question. Is it easier if we just do one really big poll that has a bunch of stuff but takes you a little longer to fill out? Or is it better to do just some regularity? It pops up every once in a while, you click a button.
Say like more polls with less information on it.
Okay, feedback in the room from Corky is more polls, less information. Keep it short and quick. Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks, guys.
Someone said weekly single question or monthly large one.
Yeah, that's good. Weekly single question or monthly larger one. Yeah, our thought right now is to do the shorter ones. I just wanted to make sure that didn't feel cumbersome to anybody. Okay, so all that said, we've had a few people reach out recently asking how they can help. And frankly, we've been so busy that I have not really gotten to get back to everybody effectively. So I'm going to give you a little list of where we would really love help and participation. And I'll also reach out to those people directly in the next couple of days. Where do we need help? We are trying to set up some trash cleanups. We want to keep this simple. We just want to do Saturday, get outside, go clean up the neighborhood, right? We all know our neighborhood has a ton of trash. We as ECNA have funding to provide trash bags, picker-uppers, gloves, everything, because as you all know, we also don't have safe trash. We have very dangerous trash in this neighborhood, right? So we will provide all of the trash cleanup supplies, but it'd be really helpful if we can get some people on board kind of being block captains. It doesn't have to be with any regularity, even if you just want to do a one-time event. We'd really love to see people out and about. We'd really like some discussion to happen around the international district. We need to get going on this. We've talked, cultural district, I'm so sorry. I even wrote that in my notes, cultural district. We really need some discussion around that. Want to make sure that everybody's getting involved in what that could look like. And how I kind of think of it is, how do we even conceptualize what a culture district should and could and will look like in our neighborhood? So there's a few that exist currently in Denver in very different capacities, everything from Greektown, if you just drive down west on Colfax, you don't totally know that you're in Greektown, right? There are some Greek restaurants, there's some labeling, but that's the extent of what this formal district is. But then if you go all the way over to Morrison Road, it's more noticeable. I don't know the best description, but and so what is coming into our area can look like a lot of different things, and we want a lot of input from everybody to make sure that, again, ECNA is representing the voices as much as possible from everyone in the neighborhood. And there's just a lot of opportunity right now for you all to get involved and drive conversation for what this neighborhood will look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because there's so many things going on. Yeah, of course.
Yes, hi. If anyone really wants to be involved with the cultural district or have any questions, I'm gonna drop my contact on the chat. And then the cultural district will also have some events with different businesses. And it will be part of the Fax Fair. We'll have a table there. So if you ever have any questions or just want to be involved, and we are in the process of hopefully creating a steering committee, and we want a bunch of residents and businesses from East Colfax to be part of it as well. So yes.
Thank you. And then final on my big to-do list, and we can always use all the help everywhere, but the final on my list is block party planning, which I already mentioned. So with that, I will get off of my soapbox. And oh, sorry, one other thing I wanted to say, Veronica has been really fantastic. As I said, she's putting out a bunch of our information all over the place because we know that we have not had very good engagement for a little while here. So all of our meetings, the recordings of our meetings are now being posted to our YouTube channel, which is really exciting because we haven't had visibility to our recordings for a long time. So if you miss a meeting, look for it on the YouTube channel. And we'll also try to post, if we have recordings from like candidate forums, for example, or things like that, we'll also try to post them there. So trying to keep you all involved as much as possible. Okay, so I would like to hand this over to Christian. Christian has asked for about 5 minutes, and then we'll have Dani come up with all the ADU conversations. And then we can just have open discussion at the time, or you all can drop off. So Christian, why don't you start with your walks?
Good evening, everybody. So there's two things I just want to talk about. And I'll post stuff in the chat as I talk about it. But let me pull up my notes. The first I want to talk about are the walking group rollout. I wanted I haven't planned one for this first quarter. And one of the things that I find to be important is the activity that we get from our DOTI department in Denver, with them coming on our walks and even DPD. And so I want to continue to do that. And so I will roll out the next walking group to be in combination with the NACTO conference. And I'll tell you a little bit about what the NACTO is. It's May 16th and May 17th. You can put it on your calendars. The walks are going to be from 2:30 to 5. And let me just tell you a little bit about what NACTO is. NACTO is Design and Cities Conference, brings together 900 officials, planners, and practitioners. to advance the state of transportation in cities. And so, as I was saying, that conference is from May 15th to 18th, but the East Colfax walks, which I'll be leading as part of that conference, will be the 16th and the 17th from 2:30 to 5. So there's NACTO. The purpose of the group, we're going to talk about the sidewalk gap program, specifically the Quebec sidewalk projects that are going to be the paving of the sidewalks, which will be done this year, and from 17th and Quebec all the way down to 11th. And so we'll have the designer and the engineer who are responsible for that on the walk, communicating what that looks like for our community. I would love for the community to show up and be there too, as all of these people will be coming across the United States. But I want our neighborhood to show out and be accountable to that. We'll also be making available one-day conference registration for people who are interested, so we can get you, we can sponsor or give you a scholarship to this conference for one day if you are interested in that. If you are, just put your name and that you're interested in an NACTO conference, and then I'll touch back with you and see if we can get you. It'll be first come, first serve basis. So just to let you know. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about is, as we're thinking about the walks in June, July, and August, I really would like to get our leaders, other leaders, to do the walking groups, and those walking groups, what they'll look like. And that can be in combination to the trash clean pickups. One of the things that I'll be rolling out for the NACTO group that we have here is our East Colfax 311 task force. I want to work to create a pilot program so we can have, I can, or some other members of our community can be kind of the bridge between those 311 requests, where we are, the ones who are being able to escalate, whatever we deem as problems in our neighborhood. And so I'll have that at the walk on the 16th and 17th. It'll be a 2-day walk. And then, so there's that. Please let me know what days and times would work best for you. If I'm thinking weekends for June, July, and August. But if you have any other things that you feel that will work for you, weekdays at what time, just let me know. You can do that in the chat. Also, what I'll do, Danielle, is I'll send over a survey. I know we have all kinds of surveys, and so I don't know how we want to engage our community, but I think it's important that we have multiple leaders of the walk. And finally, I want to let you know about our micro grant rollout. And let me put that. We are offering small grants to our community, $500 for individuals, $1,500 for community organizations. We also will be given, it's a very easy application process, a very easy evaluation process. If you need help developing the ideas to what to apply for, what project to apply for, you can also reach me. I'll put that information in the chat and I can help you develop a project. But those things could be used like for the trash pickups. We've had night strolls where people have illuminated paths to parks to make it easier to navigate to some of our community places in our community. So there's all kinds of ways you can use this funding. It's going to be around active living, active transportation, and safety. And so more ways to utilize the money that the Department of Transportation is giving to our community. And that's it for me.
I'm muted, sorry. Thanks so much, Christian. Really appreciate it. All right, and Dani. And actually, let me share the screen quick here. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay. Hello to everyone. My name is Dani, and I work with the West Denver Renaissance Collaborative. But we have a program that's going citywide. So I'm in the east side of town. And I'm here to talk to you today about ADUs. So who's heard of an ADU? Yeah, okay. What is an ADU? Like, yes, yes. What does that mean? Is it a full house? Is it like a shed? Like, we have some questions. Do I have control of this? It's an accessory dwelling unit. Oh, there we go. Okay. So what is an ADU? This is kind of what we're going to go over. Like, what is an ADU? Why do we want to build them? What are the goals of this particular program? How does it work? And if you want to build an ADU, or if you want to convince your family member who owns a house to build an ADU, what do you do next? So first, what is an ADU? Accessory dwelling unit. There's a lot of other names for these. Casitas, carriage house, a granny flat, an alley house, like the list goes on. It can be paired with a primary house, but it can also be separate. And so we build detached ADUs through our program, but we also can connect you with like how you would go about building an attached one, if that's your goal. So why? Most of the folks in our program are doing this to house family. They're doing it as a mechanism for wealth building, right? So if you bought a home in an economically depressed market because of a history of redlining and other financial shenanigans, and now you're experiencing displacement pressure, this is a way of increasing the amount of housing on your lot and the amount of value on your land, and can leverage the equity in your home to be able to make ends meet in a variety of different ways. Folks also build them to age in place, so they're accessible units, and I use that term very loosely. There's a very specific architectural definition of accessible. These are adaptable units. It also allows a lot of flexibility. You can use them as a rental for more passive income, as like a retirement strategy. You can use them as first-time home builders and buyers, with family members that are, adult children and young families. And there's a whole slew of benefits for the wider community as well, on that kind of planning scale. If you want to get nerdy with me, I'm happy to do that. Okay, so our pilot program kind of came out of community needs in West Denver, identified in 2016. And the goal of the program remains the same. It's to stabilize homeowners and minimize involuntary displacement, provide wealth building opportunities, and create new long-term affordable units, as well as to promote equitable access to ADU zoning and development. And we're seeing a lot of exciting developments right now at the city to expand access to this type of development of plots. So far we have built or are building 14 ADUs. To give you a sense of like who this program actually works for, 10 of those 14 houses are BIPOC households. 7 are in the low to very low income category based on how HUD defines those things. 4 are women-headed households. And really folks kind of at the lower end, or the middle to the lower end of the AMI scale, so the area median income. And what we provide to make all of that possible is technical support, design support. So everything is pre-designed, solar ready and energy efficient. There's utility upgrades sometimes that are needed, and there's a lot of sort of neglected infrastructure in a lot of those neighborhoods. So we have funding to be able to support some of those upgrades to public utilities that reduces the potential variables in the building cost. We work with CPD's AHART program, the Affordable Housing Review Team, to help make the permitting process smoother. And then we support folks in developing strategies to be a good rental manager, property manager. So again, we go through like all of the site review, technical services, housing counseling, finance referrals to partnered lenders. So we have relationships with banks that understand the market we're trying to serve, right? Which isn't necessarily always like a conforming loan. And so we work with them to try and negotiate good rates for folks. We also offer through several different partnerships, including the City and County of Denver, up to $88,000 in financial assistance for qualified households, and I can get into that further. The design part of that, again, these are pre-designed energy efficient building plans. They range from studios to 3 bedrooms. We do site consultation and engineering services. Like yesterday, I was out helping, well, not helping, observing someone scope a sewer line and taking notes. And so we know what's there and doing soil testing and all of that nitty gritty stuff. And sort of guaranteed cost projection from Habitat for Humanity, which brings us to construction. Habitat's our partner. They provide about 10% below market construction costs, which, you know, construction is expensive, but they are doing what they can to make it as affordable as possible. So who qualifies? You have to be a homeowner or you have to know a homeowner. We have a lot of families qualify for financing together. And that is an opportunity for first-time home buying or home building in the backyard as an intergenerational living strategy. You have to have lived in the neighborhood for 2 or more years. Any income level can build with us. You have to qualify for financing. And again, we try and help you with that as much as possible. Households under a certain income limit qualify for additional funds. You have to have ADU zoning, which is like a rapidly developing thing. So there are some changes that will happen on May 1st in West Denver, and then potentially some changes that will happen June 5th when ADUs in Denver goes to City Council. That would really expand eligibility across the city, as well as some things we're looking at and keeping an eye on at the state level and in the governor's housing bill that he just introduced. So zoning, it's a moving target. You can check our website and it should be updated regularly. I'm going to admit this person. All existing structures on your lot have to be permitted. And if you have questions about that, we're happy to talk about it. But there's a QR code to our website where you can check your zoning. What's happening? There we go. Okay, so cost savings or financial assistance, however you want to frame it. This is what those AMI levels are. So area median income, if you know what that means. So everyone is eligible for $35,000 to help defray the cost of building these. If you're under 140 area median income, which is for a family of 4, $164,000. Which is a pretty comfortable income if you ask me, or 115,000 if you're a single person, which again, pretty comfortable. You can qualify for up to 58,000 in cost savings, and it kind of depends on the unit you want to build. And then households under 120% AMI qualify for up to 88,000 in those cost savings. And so okay, cool. Just like, oh, I should do it. So we finance these normally through refinancing a current mortgage. So this is one of the things I appreciate about how this program works, is that folks that have been in a neighborhood for a really long time, that have deep roots in that neighborhood, are the ones that have been paying down their mortgage for a really long time and can make this program work for them. So it really does work very well as an anti-displacement tool to really root folks in place and build more affordable housing at the same time. There's some other mechanisms, including a partnership with Elevation Community Land Trust through the Stay in Place program. And so that these are all some fine grained details that I'm not going to get too far into. There's a few stipulations to that. And they're not too onerous if you ask me, but there is some reciprocity that is required. So you own the ADU and you agree to the following terms for 25 years. So you use the house to rent to either house family or rented with a long-term lease. You do not participate in the short-term rental market with your ADU or your main house. You rent below 80% AMI, so I can show you what that means. You participate in annual reporting on use, rents, and insurance. So that just means you send us more or less an email with your records of what you've been charging for rent. It's self-reported. And you remain compliant with those things if the property is sold to family. And so those 25 years, if you have to sell under sort of unfortunate financial circumstances, that the lien that would be on the like sort of cash out exit penalty is forgiven. And if you sell to family, everything can just transfer and there's no penalty at all. Okay, so rent restrictions below 80% max rent, that's kind of what that looks like. In my opinion, that's more or less market rate. It's not a particularly stringent restriction. And then either you or the homeowner or you as the homeowner or the renter needs to be below 80% AMI in your annual income. So again, that's what those numbers are there. We have models from studio to 3 bedrooms, lots of variety. They're really beautiful. There's this whole process. We tried to make it look like Candyland because we wanted you to think it was really fun. But we work with folks through the entire process and it takes about 12 to 18 months. And so we have funding to build. We're sort of bound to spend 75% of our funds in West Denver because that's where we started. That's where our roots are. But we also have the ability to spend 25% of our funds or build 5 ADUs in the city outside of West Denver. And so there's been a rezoning effort in East Colfax. East Colfax does have ADU zoning. If you're interested, there's a QR code here. There's a website address there. I'm a little tired. And I would love to hear from you. You can check out the website, submit a pre-qualification application, and we'll look at your site and tell you whether or not it's going to work. But that is all for me. We have a lot of partners and we're grateful to all of them. And we also just are housed within DHA. So if that's the confusing part of my email address, that's why.
Hi there. Can you please drop a link in the chat? This is Chi-Chi, by the way.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
I'm sure someone there can help you with it too, just because I'm a realtor and I'm trying to work specifically within the neighborhood. And I know ADUs are a hot topic right now, especially for a lot of property owners, especially for those who maybe not want to leave the community, but want to reinvest in it. So I'd love to be able to speak further to that.
I should say that.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Thinking sound.
I stopped sharing.
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay, let me pull up our website. Great, that is the link. And yeah, follow us on social media. We haven't done social media until last week and now we're doing it. It's very exciting.
And then there's a few questions actually.
Yes.
So this is, sorry, this is Megan. I have one. Did I read correctly a couple slides back that the homeowners in the primary residence income is restricted? And was that for the 25-year term of the program?
So let me see if I can share screen again. This is going to be the wrong.
And thank you for this information. Great program.
It is. I'm excited about it. Okay. So I don't think I'm screen sharing right now. So is that learning curve with a new computer?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. So let me go back to that stipulation. Sorry, I went fast because I know it's been a long day for everyone. So for either the renter in the ADU or the homeowner. So if you're over 80% AMI in what you make, you just have to be renting to someone below 80% AMI.
Thank you.
For reference, that's $62,600 for a single person. That's almost every librarian, school teacher, social worker. There's a lot of really great renters out there. So yeah, other questions?
I had one more. I was wondering if at the front end of your presentation, you said that this was for detached units, I thought. And I was just wondering if how garages play in. So if I have a garage already.
Yeah. So we do not build garage conversions because there's too many variables. And so we really have focused on detached ADUs. With the ADUs in Denver, sort of potential zoning amendments that are hopefully going through on, I think it's June 5th, June or July 5th. It's one of those two. That would really reconfigure what it takes to do a garage conversion. Right now, it's very expensive and very challenging. And so that's one of the things that may change. We do have a unit that we have pre-designed that's a 1-bedroom over a garage. Oh, and it's not shown. It's a very expensive thing to build because like per square foot, just because, you know, the garage is half of the construction cost, and it's a 2-story unit. And so that's an option. It's not shown here, but that's an option.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Do the units that are detached, do they have their own electric meters and water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they get their own bill.
They
Can you restate the question?
yeah. So the question was the detached units, do they have their own water meter and electricity? And I believe whether or not they have their own bill is a good question. They definitely have their own electric line. I believe they likely have their own electricity. All of them so far have had solar. We had a funder give us money to do solar installations on all of them so far. I don't know that we'll be able to do that forever, which is great. Yeah, our redesigned units are going to be 100% solar ready. So like sort of pre-designed for solar panels, no extra effort. Yeah.
So,
yeah, go for it.
So the studio, 432 square feet.
Yes.
I can't picture that, but is that like a tiny?
It is, so it depends. There's a lot of definitions of tiny homes. So it kind of depends on who you ask, right? So 432 square feet is actually pretty spacious if you ask me. So
this station? No, not.
this is bigger. This is bigger. This is more like the size of our 1-bedroom. So our 1-bedroom is about 24 feet square. And this looks like it's just a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But, you know, I started this job in mid-February and I went to an open house of one that just finished construction and it was gorgeous. I was like, can I move in? Like, do you need a renter right now, please?
And from the perspective of the size of houses, especially the East Colfax neighborhood, we have many homes in this neighborhood that are 700 square foot for the entire home.
Yeah.
We have some down to, I think the smallest we have in the neighborhood is about 300, but we do have a few that are also about 400 square feet. So if you look at the old bungalows, like just the short front ones that weren't extended back, I think those sit around that 400 square foot. If that's helpful.
Yeah. And the 3-bedroom really, I mean, it is a house. It's a second house. Yeah. Other questions? There's a question in the chat.
Yeah, so what's the average total cost per square foot been thus far?
Ooh, that is a good question. So it's going to depend on how much of like the cost savings we're able to give through our additional funding. Right now, if you qualify for like the maximum assistance, the studios are around 199,000, like fully in. And then I think I'm gonna misquote myself, but it's like the low or mid 200s. I want to say 260 something for the 3-bedroom unit right now, and those numbers change quarterly as construction cost changes. And so Habitat updates us quarterly. Right now, we think we're going to be able to keep it steady for the next 3 months, which is really good news because the construction costs really spiked during peak pandemic. Yeah, so if you're, you're getting basically a second home for a much reduced cost compared to buying a house in the neighborhood. Yeah, all right. Thanks, y'all. I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks so much. Really appreciate all of that information. That is excellent. All right, we got some claps too for you.
If you guys have questions, I can stick my email in the chat. Please feel free to reach out. I also have jury duty tomorrow, so I may not respond immediately.
They must have postponed a lot of trials during COVID or something.
Apparently, they're just mining everyone who was involved in this meeting.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Dani. Again, really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone for joining tonight. I am going to end it because this is not our building and I don't remember how to turn on the lights. So everyone online may have noticed it's getting very dark in here. So I want to make sure that everyone gets out of here safely. But if you want to reach out at all, of course, please feel free to. And yeah, we'll see y'all next month. You did. You can retype it.
You can retype tired doofus. It's work.
All right. Thanks all.
Great.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I emailed with you. Writing sound, thing. Yeah. Yes. That means. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave the meeting up just for a little bit, just so that everything can process on our end, but we don't have anything else for tonight. So feel free to drop.